Hey folks, I'm Rob Luthman, a partner here at Weir Attorneys, and today's legal point is very quickly going to focus on the three major types of automobile insurance policies that you can purchase here in New Jersey: the standard policy, basic policy, and the special, otherwise known as the $1 policy. All right, the first two policies we're going to talk about are the standard and the basic policies. We're going to leave the special policy alone for a minute because you actually have to qualify to be able to purchase that type of insurance. The major difference between the standard and the basic policy isn't so much the types of coverage that it provides, but really the amount of that coverage. As the name basic would suggest, you get a lot less coverage under the basic policy than you would the standard policy. It costs a lot less money, but your coverage is significantly decreased. For instance, for bodily injury coverage. Now, this is coverage that you will need if you hit somebody and they sue you, for instance, for their pain and suffering, their lost wages. The basic policy really comes with none as a default. However, you can purchase up to $10,000. A standard policy, the default and the minimum is $15,000, but you can get up to $500,000 in bodily injury liability coverage. For property damage liability, again, liability meaning that you hit somebody and they sue you or make a claim against you for the damage to their vehicle, the basic policy provides a maximum of $5,000 in coverage. Under the standard policy, you can get as high as $100,000 or even more in your property damage coverage. Now, PIP, personal injury protection, is the next type of coverage provided. Now, this would cover your medical bills if you were injured in an accident. The basic policy only provides for $15,000 in PIP coverage. There is what's called emergency PIP, up to $250,000 for immediate treatment that you need after an accident, for instance, an immediate hospitalization and immediate surgery. But really, for the most part, it does not include more coverage than $15,000. Under the standard policy, you're afforded $250,000 in PIP coverage as a default to use for the payment of your medical bills for any injuries you incur and treatment you have to undergo due to an accident. You can select lower limits, but the standard is $250,000. Now, for UIM coverage if you get hit and are injured by somebody who didn't have insurance or who was underinsured, basic policy provides you with nothing, zip. Standard policy, usually the amount that is provided is the same amount of your liability limits, again up to $500,000. Now, both policies do have certain provisions for collision and comprehensive coverage. This is coverage for damage to your own vehicle. The basic policy is always subject to the limitation on tort threshold. In other words, you are always subject to the verbal threshold, and you can look into that if you need further information as to what that is. Whereas on the standard policy, you can pay a little bit more to be not subjected to the verbal threshold, to be what we call a zero threshold. You can't do that under the basic policy. And the final policy we talked about was the special, or the $1-a-day policy. You have to qualify to purchase this type of insurance. You have to currently be uninsured, and you have to be currently enrolled in federal Medicaid with hospitalization in order to buy one of these policies. They're called a $1-a-day policy because the premium for one calendar year is usually $365. And although attorneys are notoriously terrible at math, we can even do the division on that one. Now, special policies provide very limited to no coverage for most types of accidents and for most types of liabilities. Really, the only coverage provided by a special policy is for $250,000 in emergency PIP. Again, emergency PIP is what pays for your bills in the event that you're catastrophically injured as a result of an accident. Your bills will be paid up until the time that you stabilize and can be discharged from whatever institution you're in. So if you're in a hospital because you had a very bad car accident, if you're stable enough to go home, then your benefits under that policy stop. The special policy doesn't provide any liability coverage, in other words, to cover you in the event somebody sues you because you caused an accident. It doesn't provide for a defense. In other words, most insurance policies, if you are sued, they have to hire an attorney to represent you. They don't under the special policy. There's no UIM coverage. There's no coverage to damage to your vehicle as a result of an accident. And anybody who has purchased or who is a named insured under a special policy is subject to the limitation on tort threshold. If you're hit and you want to bring a claim, you will be subject to the tort threshold. So in a nutshell, those are the three major types of automobile insurance offered here in New Jersey. If you want a greater description as to the coverages that I discussed during this video, take a look at the link that I'll leave here in the notes, in which I go through your declarations page and explain exactly what those coverages mean for you. Of course, if you have any other questions, give us a call or shoot us an email. And if you enjoyed hearing about these legal points and would like to see more in the future, subscribe to our page in the bottom right-hand corner. Thanks, folks, and have a great day.